Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, December 15th, 2025. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. Councillor Sailer is remoting in for this afternoon's meeting as well. First item on the agenda item 1.1, Land Acknowledgement. The town of Coaldale acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot peoples of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot peoples past, present, and future while recognizing their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The town of Coaldale is also home to Métis District 1 Foothills. Agenda item 1.2, Conflict of Interest Declaration. Pecuniary and non-pecuniary. Are there any in the room this afternoon? Councillor Sailer, do you have a pecuniary interest this afternoon? None declared. Moving on to acceptance of the agenda. The regular council meeting agenda for December 15th, 2025. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? See none, could I get someone to entertain making a motion that council adopt a regular council meeting agenda for December 15th, 2025 as presented? Councillor Pickering makes that motion. I'll call for the vote. Motion is carried. And if our municipal clerk can just confirm that Councillor Sailer is still available, please.
Apologies, Mayor. It looks like he just dropped off the call, but trying to reconnect again now.
While we're waiting for Councillor Sailer, I'm just going to go down the agenda to correspondence. Agenda item 11.1 to a letter sent to MLA Grant Hunter on behalf of our council regarding Bill 54 and the electronic election tabulators. And I had notification that that was received. Moving on to information items 12.1, we have the meeting minutes from October 14th, 2025. Were there any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor. Through to Council, if I may, just with regards to the information minutes regarding the FCSS board meeting. Or are we down that far yet?
No, we're on
Okay.
PAWS meeting minutes from October 14th.
Okay, I'll leave that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to information item 12.2, we have the meeting minutes from SAKA from September 17th, 2025. Were there any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none, moving on to agenda item 12.3, minutes from the Coaldale Library Board from October 21st, 2025. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Moving on to information item 12.4, Southgrow, the December 2025 report. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none. And then we have agenda item 12.5, Mayors and Reeves report by MLA Grant Hunter. Any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, could I get someone to make a motion to adopt the information items? Councillor Reese is making that motion that council receive items 12.1 to 12.5 as information. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call for the question. And that was carried unanimously. Thank you. And just backing up to MLA Hunter's letter under correspondence 11.1, I'll call for I need someone to make a motion that council receive the correspondence to MLA Grant Hunter as information. Deputy Mayor Beekman makes that. I'll call for the vote. And that motion is carried. Thank you. And now I see that Councillor Sailer is back on line. Councillor Sailer, did you have a pecuniary interest? Go ahead.
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you.
I do not.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to agenda item 8.1. Under new business, we have our Senior Manager of Capital Finance, Tim Koba, presenting on the 2026 to 2030 capital budget. Tim, whenever you're ready. And if you could just begin by explaining for our viewers at home, because all these items that you're going to be talking about now were voted on at our previous special council meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So the 2026 to 2030 capital budget that's attached to this report is the result of previous discussions. There were two special council meetings last week, one on Monday, December 8th, where a list was presented to council for information. The second meeting held on Thursday, December 11th last week was to come back to council with answers to any questions that they may have had, and then also to kind of go through the list one by one individually to decide whether or not those items should make it into the 2026 to 2030 capital budget. Now tonight, the list you see in front of you is the same list that you saw last week. There is one small change, and that one is that I never had a number for the fire tender. But I reached out to the fire chief today and got a number that we could put in there, and that's just to be consistent with how we're treating the rest of the fire vehicles. Okay, so that was the only change. There are two decision options tonight. One is to approve the 2026 to 2030 capital budget. The second option is to request additional information that we can bring back for a third meeting that we have scheduled for Wednesday, December 17th, if we need to use that.
Thank you. I'll open up to members of council. Any questions or comments for our presenter? Councillor Abrey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to be on public record that it's not that I'm against all the items that we're getting approved, but I'm not in favor of all of the items, so I will be voting against the capital budget because I believe, and I've asked the question, why we can't extend the life on some of our assets. It's a new program. Tim's doing a great job with our asset management, but I believe with good maintenance, we can extend the life of our assets a lot longer than what we are, so I will be voting against it.
Thank you. Councillor Reeves.
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to be on public record of saying that I'm going to be voting in favor for this capital budget because based on the expertise of our administration, I believe that they've done their due diligence to make us with the best possible information to make the best decision possible for our town. So therefore, even though there are some things I'm not necessarily in favor for, I'm going to be voting in favor for this agenda item because I do believe it's in the best interest of our town. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. See no more questions, comments? Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor. To Tim, if I may, there was a couple of items that we had voted against on last week, particularly with respect to the recreation or to the civic Plaza. Would those items be able to be brought back again at a future time for council's consideration for a future budget item?
Through the chair to Councillor Chapman, yes, we can definitely bring those back for 2027 deliberations. And I'll make a note of that we make sure to include a presentation for those 3 items.
Thank you very much. And with that, Mayor, I'll make the motion to to approve the 2026 to 2030 capital budget.
Thank you. So there's a motion on the floor by Councillor Chapman that council approve the 2026 to 2030 capital budget as presented. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. And that motion is carried. And voting against, we have Councillors Abrey, Pickering, and Deputy Mayor Beekman. Thank you. Now we will go back to the agenda as circulated. Agenda item 3.1 under adoption of previous minutes. The regular council meeting minutes from November 17th, 2025. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, could I get someone to entertain making a motion that council adopt the regular council meeting minutes from November 17th, 2025 as presented? Councillor Reeves makes that motion. I'll call for the vote. And that motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 3.2, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, December 1st, 2025. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, could I get someone to entertain making a motion that council adopt the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from December 1st, 2025 as presented? Councillor Pickering makes that motion. I'll call for the vote. And that motion is carried. Moving on to agenda item 3.3, the special council meeting minutes from December the 8th, 2025. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, could I get someone to entertain making a motion that council adopt the special council meeting minutes from December 8th, 2025 as presented? Councillor Chapman makes that motion. I'll call for the vote. And that motion is carried. Moving on to business arising from the minutes, we have our Director of Protective Services, Clayton Rutberg, presenting on agenda item 6.1 regarding the automated traffic enforcement. Clayton, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just here before you tonight with a request for further direction. During the special council meeting of September 22nd, it was moved that council suspend the town's automated enforcement program for the remainder of 2025, and further that council reassess its viability in the future. The purpose of this report is for council to reassess the town's photo radar program and decide what services you guys would like to provide in 2026. This is really to ensure clarity on the service level for municipal enforcement program moving into 2026 and to assist us in preparing for budget. Administration requires the direction of council how you would wish to proceed with the ATE program. We do have a few decision options for you. One, that council put the ATE program on hold for 2026. Option 2, council reinstates the ATE program for 2026. Or option 3, that other direction to administration as determined by council.
Thank you. I'll ask members of council any questions, comments. Councillor Abrey's up first, and then Councillor Reese, and then Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Clayton, for updating on this. I can't believe the 3 months went by so fast. I'm in full support of making that a motion to have council put the automatic traffic enforcement program on hold for the year of 2026 because I just don't see the financial benefit besides not calling it a cash cow.
Thank you. Any questions, comments to Councillor Abrey's motion? Councillor Reese is next.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. And due to Councillor Abrey, I guess if you have a motion on the floor, I'm wondering if you would make an amendment to it that it come back until or unless it's reinstated by the province, at which time come back to council and we reassess it.
Councillor Abrey.
I don't feel we need to make an amendment to it. I believe even if the province does change the rules to operating the ATE, we would need time to get things back going again. So it's something that Clayton and his team could have back to us in a short turnaround, and then we could readdress it. This gives them a year to plan on what they're going to do without having to worry about what's council's decision. So no, I would not accept a friendly amendment.
Councillor Chapman.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and speaking in support of option number one. The only two questions I have for Chief was this: one of the main reasons for abandoning the program for this year is because more of a break-even cost effort. I think by the time we add our labor and our manpower into it, plus the return on investment and revenue from it, it would be a break-even point.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think especially after the last time where we had put the tickets on hold just with the mailing and stuff like that, that kind of pushed that off quite a bit.
Thank you. My final question to you, Chief, is this. How do we want to develop the messaging on that if this is going to be a public situation, a public knowledge item? Do we want to make our messaging as a need to ensure that people understand that speed is still going to be monitored by other means, that this is not the end of monitoring speed?
I think that's absolutely a good idea. That again, there's many other means that can be taken to make sure that stays at a reasonable rate. So that's definitely something that can be looked at.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just so that I'm understanding, based on Councillor Abrey.
Thank you. I don't believe it needs to change the motion. It's fluid. So it could be 3 months, it could be 12 months, it could be 18 months. Well, I'm just giving it a 1 year time frame as recommended by the chief.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions, comments, there's a motion on the floor by Councillor Abrey that council put the automated traffic enforcement program on hold for 2026. I'll call for the vote. Motion is carried with Councillor Reese not in favor. Thank you. Thanks, Clayton. Moving on to new business. Agenda item 8.1, the 2026 to 2030. I'm sorry, I got to jump ahead one more. Agenda item 8.2, the 2026 to 2028 interim operating budget. And we have our Chief Financial Officer, Ashley Crabb, presenting. Ashley, whenever you're ready.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. So the objective tonight is to request Council's consideration for an interim budget. This was previously discussed with Council during strategic planning sessions. So under the MGA Section 242, subsection 1, Council must adopt an operating budget annually. However, if the final budget is not ready before the start of the calendar year, subsection 2 allows for Council to adopt an interim operating budget to ensure the continuity of municipal operations. So with that being said, there's a few considerations that we feel an interim budget would be the best way forward at this time, and I've outlined those in my staff report. These include major staffing changes in our corporate services department, and then just ensuring that we have alignment with Council's new strategic plan, clarity on any 2025 surpluses and deficits, and incorporating all aspects of the newly passed 2026 capital budget. We want to note that this would only allow administration to continue with ongoing expenditures. So any extraordinary purchases would need to be approved in advance by Council either during the 2026 operating budget deliberations or at a regular Council meeting, which then would be adopted into the 2026 budget when we get to that point. So I've provided Council with a few options. However, our recommendation is that Council approve the interim operating budget as presented. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Councillor Abrey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Ashley. So looking at the sheet that we were provided in our council package, and looking at the budget that we approved last year, the figures are not the same on what you've got in 2025 approved and what we approved in our budget. Now, that's my first question. Now, my second question under expenses, administration has gone up $900,000. So once again, I'm not prepared to pass even an interim budget. I don't have enough detail. Like we're talking $1 million in one line and 50,000 in another line, and so I don't have enough detail for myself to feel comfortable to pass an interim budget at this time. But if you can just answer the first question, please, about what we approved and what's in this line. Did stuff get moved around without us knowing?
So yeah, for sure. So when you guys would have passed the 2025 operating budget last year, the previous CFO would have forecasted for 26 and 27. If you looked at those figures from those years, what is in there is some adjustments to utility rates. Those have been passed in a previous bylaw, as well as forecasting on wages. So anything else that was in that 2026 budget, I didn't change except for to balance those items and then keep them consistent across the future years. That just allows administration to kind of stay within the same operation. So yes, it is reflective of 25, but it is what was proposed in 26 for the 26 from 25's budget, if that makes sense. If we look at 2025's budget, you would have seen the forecasted amounts for 26 and 27. So that's what I base my figures on.
Councillor Abrey has a follow-up question.
Yes, thanks, Ashley. But more specifically, like we approved the 2025 budget. And so I'll use the first line again. So we've got 1.194 million and we approved 1.23 million. So there's a discrepancy on what we approved and what's on this line.
Oh, for 2025 or 26?
25.
Okay. I think...
And then we, of course, then project moving forward, like on wages and increases and stuff.
Yeah.
That, but I don't understand why we're...
Oh, so you're hung up on the 25 number from originally approved. Okay.
Moving forward, because it's a 2025 if the 2025 numbers that we've approved from last year are different from this, we're going to have a different number moving forward in 26, 27, and 28. Because, we had our projections for 26 and 27, but the amounts we approved, total revenues, we have 25,000 or 25, and here you got 30 million. So
I just want to make sure we're looking at the same budget amount. So just give me. Yeah. Are you looking at one from a previous staff report? Or are you looking at the one that was approved on the website?
I'm looking at the one that we approved last year
At this time?
at this time for 2025. So the budget that was approved is what I'm looking at.
Okay, so excuse me, I don't know if something, because of being off, I'm not sure if something happened. I believe that operating budget was amended at some point. Is that correct, Kaylin? Do you recall?
Offhand, I don't recall. I think what I'd like to suggest to council is that the intention of interim budgets is only to provide the ability to operate past December 31st for a period of 2 months. So my suggestion would be not to get too concerned with what the line items show in the budget, because that's based on 12 months of expenditures. In reality, we're looking at 6 weeks just to get past New Year's, knowing that we are going to be coming back to council in the first quarter of 26 for the rest of the operating budget. So if council doesn't want to make an interim resolution today, then I suggest that we get our calendars out, because through the MGA, you do have to pass an operating budget. And if detail is what matters, you're going to need additional meetings in order to have those details. But the one thing that you can't do is not pass one.
So the earliest in January, like you said, if we pass one for 2 months, you can come back with the answers to Councillor Abrey's question.
For sure. Like we're only looking to get past December 31st because we are going to run out of time with fiscal years. So although this shows a projection for 12 months, you're only looking at about 6 to 8 weeks of that year. And then the operational budget discussions where you'll have a breakdown of each of the department allocation areas is something that we'll have as part of those meetings.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Beekman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Kaylin. First, through the chair to Kaylin. Understanding that we do need to have an interim budget in place, but I think it is important for us to ask the questions now so we kind of set the standard here moving forward. So through to Ashley, kind of going off of what Councillor Abrey was talking about when I also looked through that too, and just more of a question, maybe if we can get some answers for that heading into setting the actual operating budget. The alarming area of my concern was under general in the 2025 to 2027 operating budget, we passed 1.33 and we're coming in this current interim budget 5.68 mil. So we got a $4.35 million discrepancy in our general expense line. So if you don't have an answer for that one right now, totally fine, but I'm hoping that we can get some more clarity on that as we head into actually setting an operating budget in January.
Sorry, can you tell me what number that was again?
Yeah, so if you go down on go down in the second section, so let's go
So expenses?
into expenses. The third line down, general.
Yeah.
We have a 2026 line of $5.683 million. But if we go back to the 2025 budget, that same line has us at an expense of 1.33. So
I am concerned that we're looking at different numbers, because when I look at mine, they're comparative year over year. So maybe it is, maybe we'll come back with more information on those, because yeah, like the intention of this was to forecast very similar to what was approved in 25 with those exceptions I mentioned based on the utility rates and then any forecasting for wages. So in reality, if you looked at these expense lines, and I wish I would have brought more information for you, but if you looked at those expense lines line over line, there's no major changes. There might be some allocation changes, like minor between departments, but not any major changes, which if you look at the difference, like the totals in both the revenues and expense lines, you can see that the variance is very little.
okay, fair. I can show you this after.
Yeah.
Totally understanding we need to get an interim budget in place. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll bring this to your attention after then.
Awesome. Thank you.
And just as a reminder to members of council as well, this agenda package was sent out Thursday evening, and if there's any questions that came up over the weekend, including today, I strongly encourage you to send in your questions because then we could have them possibly answered for our meeting tonight. Councillor Pickering has a question or comment.
Thank you, Mayor Van Rijn. I just want to emphasize my concern too. I've seen this and you've answered some of the questions, but yeah, we definitely would like to see some clarity on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor, and through to Ashley. I don't have the concerns that I'm hearing because I think that what you're asking for is sort of is something that we to carry a budget forward that we've already approved for 2025. So there's not going to be any new surprise increases. You've made that very, very clear in your supplement in your report that this would be just a carryover to carry us into the next season of budgeting or accounting, I should say. So I'd be willing to make the motion to approve the interim budget as presented, being that this is, as our CAO has explained that this is a carryover till we get that, because this budget here, this interim budget, will not include grants or other taxes that we may have to collect on behalf of the government. For example, the education tax is not included in here, so that would be supplementary to a new budget in the coming up.
Right. There is a few unknowns that aren't reflected in here. Definitely things that, had we had the time, we would have been able to provide for you guys and get a full operating budget. But yeah, as of right now, it's just placeholders to allow us to essentially keep the lights on, pay the staff,
correct,
and pay the utilities. So nothing major in these, are no major line changes in these.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Abrey.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I'm not asking questions to put anybody on the spot. I appreciate when it came out, but we also have other things that we're doing. You know, when it comes out late on a Thursday, and you also coach a basketball team, and you're way out weekend coaching basketball, you don't have time to look at this until today. So I appreciate that you want the questions in sooner, but unfortunately, I live a lifestyle that has me busy 7 days a week, and this weekend I just didn't have time to ask my questions. Ashley, I appreciate your time in this. I didn't ask my questions to be ignorant or rude.
No problem.
Councillor Chapman, did you say you were willing to make decision option 1 that council adopt the 2026 interim operating budget as presented? Did you want to make a amendment to that to capture what Councillor Abrey was bringing up, or will that cover it off good enough? Okay. Seeing no more questions, comments, I'll call for the vote on option 1 that council adopt the 2026 interim operating budget as presented. That motion is passed. And just for the public record, looks like we lost Councillor Sailer, who is remoting in. Moving on to, thank you, Ashley. Moving on to agenda item 10.1 under council and committee reports. We have Councillor Abrey presenting on the newly formed Coaldale Police Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just have a brief update. So Deputy Mayor Beekman and myself are the representatives on this new police committee. Councillor Chapman is our backup if neither one of us can't make it, and as well as yourself are able to attend any of the meetings. We have 3 citizen members. I believe it's going to be a very good and exciting board. Our next meeting is going to be January, where we will elect a chair and a vice chair for the police committee. And town staff have now sent us all the paperwork that we need to have done by the end of this month to make sure we get our proper criminal record checks done. So next time I report on it, I'll have a lot more information. It seems like there's a lot of enthusiasm from our citizen members. So I'm looking forward to our future with it.
Thank you. And Councillor Abrey, would you care to make the motion that Council receive the Coaldale Police Committee update as information? Councillor Abrey makes that motion. I'll call for the vote. And that motion is carried. That concludes the open portion of the meeting. I will require a motion at 5:38 p.m. that council move to go into closed session in accordance with section 197-4-B of the Municipal Government Act to discuss matters exempt from disclosure for items 13.1 and 13.3, subject to section 28, local public body confidences, and section 30, harmful to the economic and other interest of a public body. Item 13.2, subject to section 20, harmful to personal privacy, and section 22, confidential evaluations. Who cares to make that motion? Councillor Pickering, I'll call for the vote. And that vote is passed. We will take a 10-minute break.